Hi, I'm Sujay, and if you're new here, I'm Feng Shui Intuitive, here to empower you through this ancient Feng Shui knowledge. This video is the start of my new video series where I'm excited to share. I'm calling it Feng Shui Live and Learn, where I'm going to share stories of my past homes and what they taught me about Feng Shui. Because honestly, so much of what I've learned about Feng Shui didn't just come from studying it came from experiencing life and challenges that came from the homes that I lived. And I've experienced some pretty intense spaces in my life. And looking back, I can also see how these homes mirror the same challenges that was happening back in my own personal life. So I'm sharing these stories because I want you to learn from my own mistakes. And if you happen to experience similar situations right now, I want you to know that you're not alone in this. I happen to believe that we can really learn so much from each other, and a lot of our challenges that we encounter in life isn't specific to us, it's universal. Plus, I will share practical feng shui remedies at the end of the video, so stay tuned. So, what's today's Feng Shui Live and Learn? It's all about staircase of terror, I might add. And this is a story where the condition and the type of staircase that you use daily mirror the life that you experience. So, here I want to tell you about one staircase that comes into my mind. Back when I was around 10, my family immigrated to America and lived in a town called Cresskill, Bergen County in New Jersey. It was pretty fancy suburban neighborhood, but as an immigrant family, we ended up renting a two-bedroom apartment above a barber shop in the downtown area. The first floor was a commercial space, and there were two units of apartments upstairs. The entrance to our apartment building was located in the back too, so already the front entrance leading to the apartment wasn't so positive. It was hidden and it was also really dark. And before I tell you what the staircase looked like, let me just tell you what our life was actually like living there as a family, because this is where the story gets pretty intense. We lived there for about 4 years, and during that entire time, I experienced sleep paralysis almost every single night. It was truly a nightmare to sleep in that home. Honestly, I ended up sleeping more in school than at nighttime at my own private bedroom. I also realized how sensitive I became living in that home. So maybe not everything was bad. It was truly a start of my spiritual awakening. My mom was diagnosed with hepatitis and had to take more than a year off to focus on her health. So I remember this being such a big deal because she was never sick like that before. And we were also challenged too financially. My dad had no income at that time. And he was probably going through one of the hardest periods of his own personal life, trying to survive as an artist in a new country where he was bearing the weight of the father needing to care for his sick wife and his kids. And on top of all of this, one of our uncle from my mom's side took property that belonged to our family back in Korea without telling us. And as you can imagine, this created enormous tension between my parents. They were fighting almost every day. And then there were next door neighbor. At first, it was just the mother and the son living there, and then they were fighting too. It wasn't a typical fight. It was a screaming match that vibrated to the shared walls. And eventually, the mom moved out and some lady moved in with him. And that's when things get even worse. They started having real violent fights, and we were terrified for her well being. And eventually, he did hurt her because there were several police visits, and I still remember our entire family being glued to the wall often, listening to their fights and seeing any signs just in case we needed to call the police. Eventually, after about a year of that domestic violence, they both moved out. So, yes, this house was terrible news for everyone involved. I heard that the people who moved into our apartment after us had to deal with cancer in that house. And the apartment next door wasn't any better. There were constant fights with the family that moved in, and eventually they divorced and had a broken family. Now, obviously, I'm not saying that the staircase caused cancer, domestic violence, divorce, and any of these things. I want to be very clear about that. But when I look back at that house through the lens of Feng Shui, nothing about the space surprises me, especially when I think about the staircase. And let me tell you what it looked like. Our back entrance opened directly into this incredibly narrow staircase. It went almost straight up. It was very steep. And at the top was this tiny little landing, basically just big enough for the doorway to our apartment, which was directly in front of the staircase, and doorway to our neighbor's apartment to the right. And because the bridal shop downstairs had an unusually high ceiling, the staircase was much longer than what you expect for a second floor apartment. So imagine walking up this incredibly long, narrow, steep staircase every single day. There was no natural light. It felt enclosed and it felt like energy was permanently stuck there. And honestly, it was a dread for me to go up that staircase, never mind coming down. It just felt plain out dangerous and uneasy. And when I think about that home today, one of the first thing I remember is the feeling of that staircase because that staircase mirrored our lives. It was an uneasy time for our family. We were trying to build a life in a completely new country. Everything felt uncertain. Everything felt like extra hard work, just like that. Long, steep, narrow, difficult staircase. So, yes, staircase can tell a whole lot from my perspective. And some staircases create a much more supportive experience than others. So, here are some staircases I would avoid. Number one, a metal spiral staircase. Yep, I know. They look really cool. I agree. But energetically, this is probably one of my least favorite staircases. I remember watching a well known YouTuber building a home out of shipping containers, and they were planning to make this beautiful metal spiral staircase as a major feature of their home. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, they couldn't make it work in their space. And I remember watching that episode where they were incredibly upset and angry that they couldn't place the staircase. All I could think was, oh, they have no idea how much of a blessing that was. Maybe someone was looking out for them and saving them from making a really difficult feng shui choice. Because from a feng shui perspective, a metal spiral staircase can be a poison arrow nightmare. You're gonna have all these sharp edges and angles combined with that constant spiral movement. The shape itself creates a very intense visual and energetic movement. And then you have those metal elements which can add another layer of hardness and sharpness to the experience. Now, if you have one of these in your home, please don't worry or panic. Stay with me until the end because I'm going to show you how you can work with it and remedy them. Okay, so number two, the floating staircase. This one isn't quite as intense as a spiral staircase, but it has its own challenges because you have these individual steps projecting out from the wall, which can create these sharp projecting forms, which we also call poison arrows. Yes, poison arrows again. But there's something else I want you to think about. Stability. Just because something looks incredibly cool and modern doesn't necessarily mean it feels energetically comfortable. Sometimes what looks amazing architecturally can still create an uneasy feeling in your body. And personally, I would need some time to get used to walking up and down those floating staircase because your body is constantly looking for support. So, where is your next step? Is it secure? And number three on my list of staircase I would never choose is a narrow, straight staircase, just like the staircase in my previous family home. This is actually a very common one in our homes. A very steep staircase that goes straight up and down without any landing can feel really intense. Think about how your body feels when you're walking up and down. Tiring, isn't it? It's hard work going up and it's scary coming down, especially without a landing. Not to mention, there's also this constant rush of movement. And this is why we often hear about money draining out of the home with this type of staircases. And this brings me to our next question. What kind of staircase would a Feng Shui expert choose? Number one, a wide staircase with plenty of space. It's not always possible in small spaces, and everything should be in proportion. But if it was up to me, I would make it a little wider and a little larger in the landing because now the energy has somewhere to pause and expand comfortably. And even better if the staircase changed direction from the landing. That change in direction naturally slows down the energy. It creates moment of transition instead of this long, rushed energy. And that is exactly what I would want. I would want the staircase to feel like a journey, not like a slide. Number two, natural light. This would be my dream staircase, a wide staircase with a beautiful window bringing in natural light. That connection to outside and natural light can completely change the feeling of a staircase. Who wouldn't want to walk up the staircase flooded with natural, beautiful light? And lastly, let's talk about staircase placement. There's two places we don't want the staircase to be in: the center and in front of the front door. These are two important areas of your home for your wealth and health. So when you put a very active up and down pathway in these two critical areas, you're creating real stir in your well-being. Okay, so what do we do if we already have problematic staircases? Don't panic. The key is stability. And my favorite remedies are actually really simple. Number one, rugs. You can place rugs at the top and at the bottom, and ideally the runner along the staircase itself. And nowadays, there are so many beautiful non-slip runner that is easy to install and easy to remove. So if you're renting, this is really a great option. Or even if you own your home and you're not ready to make a permanent change, you can try these first and see how you feel in those spaces before committing. Number two, create a gallery wall. Put an artwork or photograph along these staircases because if you create something that makes you want to stop and look, you're encouraging the energy to slow down too. Instead of rushing straight up and down, you now have little moments of pause, and that can completely change how the staircase feels. Number three, light. Another really simple remedy is light. A dark staircase is going to feel much heavier than a staircase that is well lit. And it's not just aesthetics. When a space is brighter, it generally feels safer, more supported, and more uplifting. There's so many beautiful lighting options now, including motion sensor lights, so you can easily add more illumination without doing a major renovation. And honestly, brighter energy is exactly what I would want around my staircases. And number four are plants. I love using plants, especially a plant in an earth based container. Plants naturally grow upward, which supports the energy moving up the staircase. But at the same time, plants also have roots. They literally anchor themselves into the earth. So you're bringing that upward movement and grounding at the same time. And if you put that plant into a ceramic or earth based container, you're adding even additional grounding quality. Number five, a grounding crystal in the soil. And here's one of my favorite addition. You can place a grounding crystal in the soil. For me, this is another way of anchoring that intention of stability into your space. Some of my favorites are black obsidian, tiger's eye, and citrine. But honestly, it's best to tune into which crystal feels right for you. They often come volunteering for a specific job for you. Number six, a Feng Shui crystal. And finally, you can also use Feng Shui crystal at the top or the bottom of the staircase, wherever you have space to install them. The idea is to introduce an element that can generate its own energy flow to stabilize on certain areas of your home, aka staircase. Think of it almost like creating a little energetic roundabout. Instead of everything moving in straight one direction, you're giving an energy somewhere to circulate and soften. And that's what the remedies do. Remedies are not meant to make your staircase disappear, or we're not trying to fight the staircase either. We're simply trying to slow down, soften, and stabilize the energy as much as we can as possible. all challenges in our homes are an opportunity to create something better in us. In this case, it's an ability to create more grounding, stability, and balance. As for the physical remedies I just talked to you about, if you want to see them as an example, I created a staircase remedy collage with examples of rugs, artworks, lighting, plants, and crystals in a collage to help you get your own remedy idea for your own staircase. It also includes some of the shopping links, so feel free to browse around. Use it as an inspiration and visualize what would work for your own space, because the best Feng Shui remedy is the one that actually works in your space, your lifestyle, and your intuition. And that really is the whole point of this series. I'm not here to tell you that one particular feature in your home is going to ruin your life. I want to teach you how to read your space, because once you start to understand how your home communicates with you, you can start making small changes that create a completely different experience. And sometimes what looks like a Feng Shui disaster can actually become an opportunity to create growth, strength, and wisdom along a life journey. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you're still watching this, you are the best. Thank you for being part of my Feng Shui community. I love you, and I can't wait to come back and share another Feng Shui Live and Learn. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.